Tonight, a KXAN investigation, an update to a Caldwell County murder case.
Last December, sheriff's deputies found this man, Russell Martin, shot dead in his home, the apparent victim of an armed robbery. These three men now face capital murder charges, but first let's focus on the man in the middle here. A new civil suit alleges he had access to the crime scene because he's the boyfriend of a caregiver employed by an Austin home health care company. Tonight, we explain why this is important for anyone who might someday need that type of in-home service.
It was not uncommon for us to talk for 5-6 times a day.
For 28 years and 3 kids, Paula Kay says her marriage to Russell Martins was strong. So strong that last year, they invited her Uncle Pete to move from Caldwell County, Texas, to their home in Alabama. He had told them he was having trouble with his home care provider.
We were going to make room. That's what she did.
At 62, her uncle, Pete Dobbins, was bedridden, but says he still possessed his faculties.
There's nothing wrong with my mind. There's a lot wrong with my body, but my mind is still working.
And he says he knew there were problems with his caretaker. A civil suit he and his niece, Paula Kay, filed says that girling health care worker was allowing her boyfriend, Trey Hopes, onto the property without Pete's permission.
Did you ever invite the boyfriend in or the other friends in?
No.
No? They were never invited?
No, they weren't invited into my home at all.
The suit also alleges the caregiver and Hopes had stolen cash and food from Dobbins' home. Pete told KXAN he complained to Girling more than once and eventually told the woman to leave. KXAN reached out to Girling for an interview. The company declined but sent us a statement saying it suspended the aide named in this suit, launched an internal investigation, and immediately removed her from patient contact and care.
It didn't end well?
No, well, no, I told her to take off down the road, to take off walking, just leave and get out of my house.
That's when he called on his family to help. And not long after Russell arrived, Pete had heart trouble and had to spend some time in the hospital. At night, Russell would stay at Pete's place.
Make sure the dogs are fed. Make sure that the house was warm for the dogs.
And on the evening of December 6th, as he always did, Russell called Paula Kay.
And the last words out of our mouth every night was, "Good night, I love you."
The next morning, Paula Kay's phone did not ring, so she called the sheriff. By the afternoon, it was clear the worst had happened.
I can't imagine getting that call.
They said that there was a body in the house, but he had not been positively identified.
The Caldwell County Sheriff's report says Trey Hope's girlfriend had worked for Dobbins, and Hopes knew of a location where the 3 suspects could commit an easy robbery, Pete's home, where one of the suspects even confessed to shooting Russell, once in the throat, a second time in the head.
Who else is to blame, in your view?
Paula Kay's lawsuit alleges Russell died because Girling was negligent in its hiring, training, and supervision of the caregiver. Or was it possible this was simply an unpredictable tragedy?
That's what we're going to find out.
Now, Girling tells KXAN, quote, it conducts extensive pre-employment background checks, including checks for criminal records. We wanted to see if the caregiver had a criminal record. We checked ourselves, could not find any. We're still working to locate her to get her side of the story. Now, as for the capital murder case against Trey Hopes and the other 2 men, it's in the pre-trial phase, Robert, and expected to get underway sometime next year.
And I understand the state logs complaints against home health care companies, and that could include everything from staffing numbers to patient neglect.
Exactly. We went back 3.5 years. We looked into Girling's records, and we found out Girling's Austin operation had 661 in that 3.5-year period. That's a couple hundred more than the next highest agency, which also happens to be a Girling operation in Brownwood, Texas. Now, all of those are outside complaints in the majority of cases. So what we found is the state also requires companies to self-report, so that could be some reason why the numbers reflect the way they do.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much. Complaints are just that. All have to be investigated before we know a violation occurred. Coming up here tonight at 10 o'clock, we take a closer look at in-home health care violations statewide. Remember, if you have something you need investigated, email us at report@kxan.com.